So we are here at the second Science, Technology and Innovation Policy Dialogue, looking at how best Africa can harness science, technology and innovation for socio-economic development. My take about what is ailing the science, technology and innovation sector in Africa, I've picked three things. One is on the level of investment. Governments need to invest more in science, technology and innovation, but importantly, we need to also address our priority needs where STI can make the biggest contribution to economic development. There's a mismatch between the needs and the innovations. So many innovations, but some of them are not really addressing the needs on the ground. So that is a big gap that is ailing development of science and technology sector. The second component is about science literacy. We are growing a population that is not well grounded in scientific principles, basic life forms like biology. And because of that, then there's a lot of misinterpretation and misinformation about science, technology, and innovation that has created what I would call the victim mentality, where Africans always, majority of our African people, including some of the policymakers, continue feeling like we are victims of scientific innovations instead of being part and parcel of the players in this space. Then the thirdly is really the kind of policies that we have put in place that are also looking, the policies seem to be, some of them are really based on our historical connections with the different continents of the world. And unfortunately, some of those policies have a disconnect between what is relevant for us and what is relevant for the rest of the world. Africa is unique and requires very unique and strategic approach to application of science, technology, and innovation. Very important for African governments and in fact other players to invest in science, technology, and innovation as relates to agriculture. We know that agriculture is the backbone of the African economy, so that is where we can make the biggest gains if we optimize agriculture by making it more efficient. So STI will make agriculture more efficient, meaning you can get less people working on the land to produce more food. Second is the issue of conservation of biodiversity. Because of our rich mega biodiversity, we need innovations in agriculture that are going to help in reducing encroachment into marginal lands, which hold very unique biodiversity that is going to be the engine for Africa's development in STI as we continue sequencing our genomic materials and making sure that we are utilizing that information to improve on our crops. Thirdly, and very importantly, we have seen all these climate change impacts that have brought about new and emerging diseases that require new tools, new sciences, new innovations. And so it is so important that we invest in science, technology, and innovation for agriculture to thrive or even to survive. For indeed, if we don't do that, then we risk our farmers continuing laboring but with no returns. Integration of STI into the agricultural system is key to Africa's self-sustenance in food security, in environmental conservation, and in industrialization. That is the only way we can catch up with this fourth industrial revolution that has already kick-started. And so we need to increase our investment. We need to also provide enabling environments for our private sector to invest in us, to invest in Africa, for Africa, because if we are not having our local private sector growing, then we'll continue getting foreign aid that may not necessarily address our needs. So very, very key that our private sector in Africa is also investing. But how can it do that? We need to understand what our private sector needs from our research, from STI in agriculture. so that we can match the needs of our local private sector and the needs of the research. And once there is that complementarity where the private sector feels they can gain something from research, then they'll put in resources to support that research. We also need to grow science culture and make agricultural sciences part of the curriculum in Africa, because we risk the danger of having a population of farmers who don't quite understand how farming has evolved over time. And so if they don't understand the evolution of farming, they will not understand why we need new breeding tools. And they will be amenable to misinformation, miscommunication, and that will lead to delayed policies. Then lastly, it is so important that we bring everybody, every value chain actor in agriculture on the table to be able to understand one another, so that we can pick the talent in our research institutions, pick the competencies within the private sector, and that way we can be able to invest in our scientific infrastructure to ensure we are able to retain our scientists, even when they study anywhere in the world, because Africa has some of the most educated, the best expertise. If you go to some of the West, some of the big companies, majority of the scientists are from Africa. So we need to ensure that we are growing, or we are developing, improving our scientific infrastructure, so that we can also be able to bring back or retain our human resource capacity. But it is not a bad thing to also import our scientific capacity. We can gain we can do what we call brain gain by getting our diaspora scientists to also invest in improving the infrastructure they left behind, because they are in a better position, and they can be able to mobilize those resources to help get our local researchers able to do research and able to operate in an environment that they feel they can be proud that they are African scientists.